everybody. I'm Madalyn Sklar, host of the Social ROI Chat presented by Manage Flitter. And we had another great chat today. I'm here with my awesome guest, Leslie McDermid. Hi, Leslie. How are you?
Hi, good. That was fun. Thank you.
Wasn't that fun? Isn't that like the fastest hour ever? Like
It
it
is.
goes fast.
I thought I was just gonna be kind of sitting around and have time, and I'm like, oh my goodness, it's almost 6 o'clock already. Yeah,
Yeah, it goes so fast. It's
yeah,
unbelievable. It's the kind of thing where like you really, as the guest, you really want to be prepared, because if you're not prepared, you're going to be so busy trying to type those answers that you can't even chat with everybody in between, the questions. So,
absolutely.
I think it's so good being prepared and like being ready for your answers and then chatting with the participants, because as you saw, we have quite the vibrant community. I think that would be the best way to put it. Vibrant
You
community.
do. They're awesome. Like very engaged and in it, and like
Yeah.
great answers. Absolutely.
I just love it. I feel so lucky to be hosting this Twitter chat. We've been running this for over a year now. We started in January of last year. And I just love hosting this chat. I love finding amazing guests. The team at Managed Flitter comes up with the topics and questions, and I think they do a fabulous job with that. But it's the guests and the participants that make this chat so amazing. So thank you for being with us today.
Yeah, thanks for
And
having me.
oh, absolutely. Before we dive in, can you tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So my name is Leslie, and I have a business called The Social Launch. Also host a podcast also called The Social Launch, and I aim to help small business owners with their online presence through social media. So yeah, I love learning about social media and hearing people's input about platforms and things that they like. I loved reading people's answers about if they like Facebook stories versus Instagram stories, things like that. I just find so interesting. So loved it.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. So our topic today, and I think this is such a great topic and so timely right now, is Facebook's latest changes, what it means for your brand. Facebook is going through a lot of interesting changes right now, and everybody, unless you've been under a rock, everybody pretty much knows that the algorithm really rules Facebook. I mean, Facebook has gotten to a point where it has to have an algorithmic timeline, because there's so much content, there's so much information between our posts from our friends and pages. There's so many pages, there's so many groups, there's so much content. So it's changing to the point where unless somebody's paying for their content to be in front of us as far as a business standpoint, that we're just going to see our friends and family, the people that we care about the most. And that's what Facebook wants. That whole big thing started. I know this date well. It was on my birthday, January 11th.
Oh.
That's what Mike Stelzner from Social Media Examiner dubbed the Facebook apocalypse. It turned into this huge thing, right? Because Facebook is trying to get back to its roots, about people. And is interesting. So I thought what made for an interesting conversation to talk about these changes. So question number one, and let's talk a little bit about this. What are the latest Facebook newsfeed changes, and how will it affect business pages?
Yeah, so they put it out there that Facebook was going to prioritize friends and family posts and local news. They posted that, I believe, afterwards, and deprioritizing business page posts. And they're also putting priority into groups, which was something in the Twitter chat. A lot of people were saying they're seeing a lot of posts from their groups. So that's another priority Facebook's changing. They want there to be meaningful conversations on Facebook. They don't want people to be mindlessly scrolling. They want actual engagement and people to enjoy their experience on Facebook. So that was their latest news.
Right. And it was interesting to see the response, because some people said, I didn't notice much of a change. And others said, I've seen big changes. So do you feel like that because we're all different as to how we consume on Facebook, that it's going to just be like that? Some are going to see changes, some aren't. Or do you feel like, it's done rolling out, right? Or is it not done rolling out? Do you know?
I thought it was done rolling out. I'm in Canada, so I know sometimes the changes affect us after. Like things will be rolling out, and I'm like, I don't see it. I can't see the change. So
Right.
I'm assuming it's happened already. I haven't noticed a huge change because I was expecting engagement and reach to significantly drop. I haven't noticed anything crazy, but they make this update a lot. It seems like that engagement's going to be going down. So I haven't noticed anything crazy, and I manage a few different pages.
Okay.
But they're mostly smaller business pages. So I'm not managing big brands. So on behalf of big brands, I can't say if their engagement or reach has gone down a ton, but I'd be interested to see anyone that's joining us, if they leave a comment and if they notice anything on their pages.
I would love to know. Yeah, it'd be
Yeah.
interesting because, but it's interesting because I feel like we all have very tailored news feeds, right? I mean,
Yes.
like take me, for instance. I've been at the 5,000 friends follower mark for years, because when I started building up on Facebook, this was before pages. I was in the music business, so I had lots and lots of people, wanting to be my Facebook friend. And
Right.
then when I started doing more and more in the social media world, then I was getting all these people in social media wanting to be my friends. So my Facebook just kept growing and growing and growing. So I've been at this 5,000 limit for so long. So you go in my news feed, is insane because there's so many people. But
Yeah.
then also on the flip side, I have followed so many business pages over the years, and I'm in so many groups that I think it's just going to really vary from person to person, because I know lots of people that just don't like pages, right? And they
Yes.
never did. And so if you're not liking any brand pages, then I feel like that can play a role. So I just feel like we're
Absolutely.
all unique. And I think I'm maxed out with everything. Like, got the maxed out followers. I can't even count how many pages over the years I've liked. I'm sure it's an insane number. I'm in so many groups because everybody adds me to their group. So I'm all in,
Yes.
you don't get invited, you just get added. So I'm in a ton of groups. So I think that's interesting. I would definitely like to learn more about how it would vary from somebody like me on one end of the spectrum versus someone on the opposite end that doesn't have very many Facebook friends, doesn't like any pages, is not on any
Yes.
groups. But that would be really interesting to see. How are you at, like, as far as with your personal Facebook profile? Like, where are you at with like friend? Like, I guess like it's probably like a ratio thing. I bet is what it probably amounts
Um,
to with the algorithm.
I'm definitely not maxed out with the amount of people I'm connected to. I don't actually even know how many friends that I have or people following me. Yeah, but I'm definitely not maxed out. I see a lot of group updates, but I feel like that's because I interact with certain groups, like
Right.
social media manager groups and things like that. Yeah, but it's a little bit frustrating though, because if I see something that I want a friend to see and then they look and they're like, I can't see what you're talking about, right? Because their
Yeah.
feed is different than mine. So for that way, it's a little bit weird. And what I thought was interesting, I was reading the update that Mark Zuckerberg posted about like the priorities of Facebook and that kind of thing. And there were so many comments, like the comments, which were really interesting. Everyone was saying, I want to see my posts in order of when they're happening. I don't want
Right.
Facebook to decide. I want to see them as people post them. And I thought those comments were really, really interesting coming from the users of what they want to see.
Absolutely. And here's what's interesting. So if you're in your Facebook profile, and you're in your Facebook, you're in the homes, or you're in the feed, you're in your news feed.
Yep.
It defaults to top stories. And so what you're talking about, people, and I'm the same way too. I want to see the most recent, and you actually can put it into that. It's really a little known fact on here. When you're in the news feed at the top left, underneath your name, it says news feed and then dot, dot, dot. And if you tap on that or click on the dot, 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 it says top stories. You can put most recent. And now it rearranges your news feed. So whatever is the most recent is at the top and works its way down. Like for me is showing, that we're live on Managed Flitter and that Jim just commented on this. So that itself, even though we've been on for 10 minutes, it pushed it back to the top because that literally just happened. And then if I scroll down, I'm going to see things by the second and by the minute, but it won't let you keep it at that. That's what's interesting. And it does have an edit preferences and you can go in and make some updates. So it's interesting that you can make a few adjustments in here, but I just know from my experience, it doesn't matter if I put most recent, it's going to show me that now, but then the next time I go back, it defaults back to top.
Right. And I don't know, can you make that edit when you're on your phone?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think this is strictly a desktop thing because I've not seen that on the phone when you're on mobile.
Yeah.
And most of us are doing this on mobile, right? So it's a little frustrating that we can't make those kind of changes.
Yeah. I just hope that Facebook was paying attention to those people's comments.
I hope so. The thing is with Facebook likes to make changes. And then while we're bitching about it, they've already moved on to their next round of changes.
Yes.
Whereas Twitter will make some changes and then they listen to everybody. And if everybody's up in arms, no, this is terrible. They'll go put it back. Like they'll go undo what they just did. Like they listen. That's what I love about Twitter. I love how Twitter will listen. And if everybody hates a new update, they go and change it. Whereas Facebook is like, it doesn't matter what kind of changes they do. If we don't like it, it's too bad.
Yeah.
So that's a little frustrating. But I think it's really interesting with the news feed and how everybody's is so different. So question number 2, what do you think motivated Facebook to make these changes?
I think maybe a little bit has to do with fake news. There was lots of fake news. So they wanted to put more focus on local news, on friends and family. And their whole thing is they want to connect people. So I think they wanted to get back to that meaningful connections between people. Yeah, I was seeing a lot of comments. People think that it had to do with advertising. They want brands to do more ads. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Well, the algorithm has been changing for years and getting less and less and less engagement. So it's interesting how we've already been going in that direction. We've been conditioned that if we want our post to get seen and heard, you got to put some money behind it, whether it is a promoted post or doing full on advertising. So I feel like we're already conditioned. We already know that we got to do that. Although it seems like with this update, it was like the nail in the coffin, that final nail, like, okay, you're now going to get not just 1%, it's going to be 0.0001%, from doing organic posting. So it's like done, but here are some other reasons. I thought I made a good comment to this question. She said that there's too much noise on Facebook. Pretty much like what you're saying. She said that she interviewed Mark Schaefer for her, she has a Facebook live show she does. And she said that Mark had shared with them that on average, we're exposed to 2,000 stories on Facebook per day. That's a lot.
That is a lot. And I can totally see that. So I think, Facebook wants brands and businesses to be sharing really good quality content. They want their users to enjoy the platform. So they are kind of forcing us to try to create better content that will engage people and interest people, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. You want the users to like the platform or else no one's going to be there. So
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. I mean,
yeah,
you are so right. And Kevin Garber, our CEO at Managed Flitter, I thought this was well said. He said Facebook was becoming at risk of losing its DNA as a social media network in favor of becoming a news sharing network, and that this could erode value for everyone long term. And I totally agree with that.
yeah,
I, I think Facebook, that they're at this place right now. It's like a crossroads, right? And they're trying to do the right thing to keep its integrity, to keep everything intact, because as we'll get to question number 8 or question number 7, where do we see Facebook in 5 years? I feel like if they're not making changes right now, it's going to become a ghost town. It's going to become a MySpace,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. They have to keep
So
innovating and they have to keep users there, or else there's no point in having any marketers there because there's not going to be any people to see anything.
exactly.
Yeah.
So let's look at question number 4. How can brands and small businesses on Facebook best manage these changes? What should they be doing?
Okay, first of all, I think people just need to not freak out because I think it sounds scary, but it's not, right? Like, I
Right.
think it just involves trying to think of what your audience wants or asking them, like, even asking customers in person what they enjoy seeing on Facebook or what they can do to bring some value to them on their page. Running contests are still get great engagement, sharing really good posts, adding visuals. But in the Twitter chat, I saw someone saying that they're starting to get more engagement on text posts only, which I was like, oh, okay. So I think just maybe experimenting with different kinds of content, because you never know what's going to work with your audience. I could come on and say, do live videos, and that just doesn't work with your audience. So I think experimenting with different things, but trying to ask questions and do polls, try to ask for people to give you feedback and that kind of thing. So just kind of experimenting, seeing what happens, and then revising things.
I love your answer. And that when I'm working with a client, I mean, that's the first thing I always say, experiment. Experiment to see what works. And what works for you may not work for me and vice versa. So it's so incredibly important to do that. So I love that. Great answer to that. And then on question number 5, we're talking about like what other Facebook features can brands use to encourage authentic engagement? I jumped in and said, Facebook Live. Like, I'm all about this, what we're doing right now, this kind of live interaction. I mean, you can't get more authentic when it comes to this. I think this is a great way to have great conversation, whether we're live right now or people are going to watch the recorded version of this later. They're going to watch the replay. They can still comment and they could tag us and we can still be part of the conversation, whether it's live right now or watching later. So I'm all about Facebook Live. I think it's a great feature. What features do you think people should be looking at for this?
Yeah, I think you touched on something cool, which is collaborations, which is not exactly a Facebook feature, but doing collaborations, whether it's through video, whether it's doing live video, I think collaborations can be a huge thing because if you're collaborating with other local businesses, then they can share your content. You can kind of help each other out in that way. So I like that idea. I started experimenting a little bit with Facebook stories for events. So trying to give people sneak peeks through Facebook stories, although I do prefer Instagram stories better
Me
for when,
too. Me
yeah.
too.
There was someone in the chat that said they did like Facebook stories more, which blew me away. So you could
Wow.
always experiment with them and see what kind of reaction you get. I think watching your analytics as well and seeing what's working well for you. Facebook gives you some really great analytics that you can use to see what kind of posts are working the best for your business, and taking advantage of that data I think is useful. Yeah, I've been experimenting a little bit too with lives. So whenever I'm writing a new blog post or creating a new video, doing a live video to kind of summarize that information so that people can get the information, to try to increase engagement that way. So I think definitely trying some form of video, as long as it's informative or good quality, I think.
Sure. Well, Facebook has been saying for the last few years now that it's going to become a video platform, I think by 2020 or something like that.
Right.
Maybe 2025, like really not too long from now. So I'm thinking it was probably 2020 because I know they said this a few years back. And that's interesting because we just can't fathom right now Facebook being all video, but we're seeing a lot of video on there is definitely being consumed. So I think it'll be interesting to see like how this progresses, especially now after this big announcement with newsfeed changes. And I'm sure there'll be other changes in the pipeline. Question number 7, the last one. I just love this question. Where do you see Facebook 5 years from now?
Well, my answer was, with the popularity of Instagram, I think I can see Instagram quickly becoming the #1 platform, or a new platform that's not even out yet, to be honest.
Right?
Um,
Something's lurking out there.
yeah. So I don't know. Like, I feel like Facebook really has to keep innovating or doing something to keep it interesting, because we're seeing people shift off of it and not use it as much.
Right.
So they're going to have to do something. But I do see a lot of people using Facebook as their news. Like, they go to see what is new, they go to their Facebook news feed. So I don't know if they'll become known as the place to go to get your news, with their kind of crackdown on fake news, trying to get less of that happening. So I don't know.
Interesting. I like that. That's interesting because I mean, right now, when you think of news, you think of Twitter, right? Because Twitter is real time. It's always been real time news, and
Yes.
I get most of my news from there. But you're making a great point. Facebook is a great resource or source of news for sure. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of breaking news going on that you can get there. I think it's interesting you say this about Instagram and Instagram is owned by Facebook, so
Yeah.
it's funny.
Yeah.
We don't really think about that because they're still so separate. But I'm with you. I think in 5 years, I think Instagram will surpass Facebook, but there could be something else that comes in and becomes #1. I feel like Facebook has really gone past its prime. I really feel like it is past its prime. Now it's really important to see what do they do next to stay relevant. And my answer was that I don't think Facebook will be relevant in 5 years. I really don't. I'm not saying Facebook is going to go away. I don't think it's going to go away, but will it be relevant? That's going to be the key. And, we don't really hear about big new platforms anymore there's one right now, but they're having a lot of problems. It's called Vero. Have you heard of this one? Vero?
I have. I thought it was a new platform, and someone told me no, it's been around for years. And I don't know what happened. It just all of a sudden started hearing about it.
Yeah, the name is familiar. I think you're right. I think it has been around, but like under the radar or something. But I don't know. There's been this big deal all of a sudden, and they're getting an influx of users. They're already at over 1 million, and their servers can't handle it at the moment. So I think we're in a place where something could come in, but could it beat out all of them? Doubtful, because it took a while for them all to get to where they are. And I think wasn't Snapchat the first one to do it the quickest? I think it was a few years back. Twitter took a while. They all took a while to get to their user base, but I think Snapchat was the one that did it quicker. I could be wrong. I don't remember which one it was, but I mean, something could come through because I think people are ready for something new and different.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
It could happen.
Yeah, so I don't know. I have a hard time predicting the future. I'm just kind of like, well, this could happen, but I don't know.
It could. I mean, I'm not afraid to throw that out there because I could be totally wrong, and in 5 years, everybody can go, Madalyn, you were so wrong. You tweeted that, and you were wrong, and
It's like,
okay, then I'm wrong.
yeah.
But I really don't, I want to save that tweet though. When I said that earlier on the chat, when I said that, I don't think Facebook would be relevant because I think I'm right. I really think, Instagram is doing so well. Yeah. And I really think that they're doing things right, that it has brought so many people either there or back. Twitter is starting to get people to come back. It'll be interesting. Twitter. It'll be interesting. I love Twitter too. It'll be interesting to see where we're at in 5 years with these platforms. I think it's going to be, here's my prediction. Okay. I'm going to make a prediction. Let's do a prediction of top 3. Okay. I'm going to say Instagram. I want it to be Twitter, but I'm going to say, I want Twitter to be number 1 because I love Twitter, but I'm going to say Instagram, Twitter, and then Facebook. If I had to say 3, if I could just pick 3 in 5 years, I think that's not to say like Twitter. I mean, Facebook might be not, they could be number 4, 5, 6, but I'm just saying if we just took those 3, how would you number those 3 5 years from now?
I would say Instagram, Facebook, Twitter.
Okay. And that's good. I mean, Facebook is Facebook. They got a lot of people on there. So yeah.
I just hope they don't change Instagram so much that they try to make it like too many things.
I know.
For too many people, you know what I mean? Like, I hope they keep it cool and interesting because it's fun. I love using Instagram.
And that's what I want for Twitter. Like, Twitter is fun and it's great. And I mean, I've been sitting here preaching this for years, how great it is. And I say, Twitter does not need to be Facebook. It does not need to be Instagram. No, leave Twitter the way it is. Yeah. And they're doing a good job of letting it be, like, let Twitter be Twitter. I wasn't thrilled that they went from 140 to 280, but I got over it pretty quick and I like it and it's okay. Yeah. And people didn't go crazy with it. But it'll be interesting to see what happens in the next several years. Yeah. But this has been such an interesting conversation. Yes, it really sparked a lot of dialogue. So thank you so much for coming on. This is probably the most I've talked, because usually it's like, it's stuff that I may not be as up on or, don't really have a whole lot I want to add to it. But this is such an interesting topic that something I'm actually interested in talking about with the guests. So I find it to be very interesting. So thank you for your time today. Thank you for your insights. This has been so much fun. What is the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Probably just check out my website, thesociallaunch.com.
Okay.
That's kind of or just anywhere on social media. I'm on Twitter often. I love Twitter for conversations. It's definitely the place to go to have
Me too. I'm posting links. I'm going to post a link to your, I'm doing your Twitter. You have a podcast also. Tell us about that real quick.
Launch. It's the Social Launch podcast. They're quick episodes to try to keep people up to date with social media changes and trends and things to do to improve your online presence. So they're quick because I know people don't have a lot of time.
Very good. Awesome. Thank you so much, Leslie. This has been so much fun getting to know you better and getting your tips and insights. And we'll see you out there on Twitter. And thank you, everybody, for watching. Whether you're here live, you're watching the replay, we appreciate you. And we'll be back next week with another great chat. So until then, I'll just see you out on Twitter because I live on there. So you'll always find me there. All right. Bye, everybody. Bye, Leslie.
Bye. Thank you.